Hey everybody, it's Defense Mechanism. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm going to do a little kind of save file walkthrough and breakdown of the song Trancendent Descent, which is off the Moon Mission EP. I should probably clear up one thing is sometimes people have said to me, oh, you misspelled Transcendent. And I was kind of 50-50 on whether I should do that or not because the joke is, or not the joke really, it's just kind of a play on words that it's trance. So you kind of miss that if you, I don't know, there's not really an easy way to emphasize that, but I thought it was cool. So that's why it's spelled that way. I wrote this in version 5 and I have just upgraded it along the way to version 8. I guess I technically didn't write this track. The original version was done by a friend of mine, and he never released it, so I asked him if he thought it would be okay if I sort of arranged it for Game Boy. So I thought it might be fun to play the original, at least some of it. It's like twice as long as the Game Boy version, because you can just do more things when you have more sounds. So I thought it would be fun to kind of play the original version, and then that way you kind of have a reference for what I was going for when I arranged it on Game Boy. So the original name of the track was Apollo. So without further ado, here's the original.
Okay, 7% fuel. Okay, you're still at 170 feet indicated. Back down. Okay, move on forward. You're just barely crossing North Strip. Barely crossing North Strip. 6% fuel. Okay, 150 feet. Let's see this one, right? Okay. Low level. All right. If you could land over here, there's some dust, Val. 110 feet. 3 feet per second down.
So it goes on a little bit longer than that, but that's kind of the idea for what I wanted to do essentially. So I guess we can start talking about the actual arrangement on Game Boy. A lot of the heavy lifting is done by a set of samples, which were based on the samples in that song. So there's this sample, which is just, I think it's set to loop, probably. Yeah, loop on. And then we have the other string sample, which is kind of the other chord. And then we've also got these Apollo speech samples, and these I think are both on my website. So it's this sample, and then we've got some speech. And I think these are all in different kits because they're all like more than 2 seconds long, so... So this is like maybe the sample heaviest song that I've ever done. Oh yeah, I should mention that the save file is also available on my website. But yeah, you can see we've got a bunch of different kits here. Basically the different strings combined with the different speech kits that kind of allow me to do this for this whole wave channel. It was actually a big surprise to me that like the speech was kind of really intelligible, because I thought, oh, you know, this is like astronaut speech. It's already really low resolution, and it's kind of like sounds like an old AM radio or something. Worse than AM radio, really, like over a walkie-talkie or something. Like it's just super compressed, or like over a phone, just low quality. And I was like, I hope that this is like at least somewhat intelligible on Game Boy. It doesn't even really have to be, you don't have to understand what they're saying, but at least it should sound like speech or whatever. And then let's see, I think this is... What I was trying to do here is kind of emulate that like 303 sound. Since the wave channel, which I would normally use for like a very resonant filter style, you know, sound, was already being filled up with samples, I had to figure out a way to emulate that in the pulse channel. And also I have this kind of ping pong panning back and forth because I wanted to sort of emulate like a delay. And so I didn't really have to write this stuff because my friend mostly was writing it, but the idea that I chose for this was to kind of put a table on and do this kind of effect where we're using an L bend upwards or downwards, and then we kind of have this like different yeah, it kind of starts upwards and then it bends downwards. Yeah, because this is a bend down. So it's kind of like you can, this is what, probably 2 octaves? Yeah, 2 octaves downwards. And then these are just some waveform changers. And this is a little fine tune changer. So that little pitch bend downwards is kind of to try to emulate like a little resonant filter sweep at the beginning of every note. So does it work well? I mean, I guess you be the judge. I like the way it sounds. And, oh yeah. So this, I assume, has got some panning automation on it. And then we've got another table here, which is doing this kind of little accented, sort of like going from a half step below. It's probably just trying to emulate a little bit of attack and, you know, this duty cycle change. So... And that has this little kind of single channel echo effect on here. I don't know if any noise channel... Oh yeah, I guess it does. I didn't do anything too fancy here, just a really simple fade. Oh, it's fade in. It's fading all the way up. This would be the old envelope, like 3F or something like that. Probably starts in at 3 and fades up. Or 3A. I I don't know. You can check because I think the save file that's up on the website is compatible with 6.8.2 if you're still using an older version. Yeah, so it's just kind of fading up in volume, and it's got a length command to kind of cut it short. But then I also have like different envelopes on it. Oops. So I'm not really using the fade in here because these are all manually done by E commands. So you can. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on in the wave channel here. We've got our kick here, which is this is kind of a little bit of a heavier kick, and it's got like a interesting pitch curve. This isn't something I would normally do. I think I've explained my kick tech a little bit before, but I wanted a slower attack. Usually I go for like B or C here, but I opted for D and then E, and then it just to kind of get this a little bit of a higher attack to the kick, and then it kind of reaches down low. And this now is something that, see if I can even remember what I did. So we're looking at this synth, which is this all pass, really high Q, doing a sweep from 90 to 22. So we've got some high harmonics here, and then going down to the low, like very low, all the way down to just like basically a straight up square wave. And then if I remember correctly, I might have done this in reverse for the following synth. Not quite. I'm just going to go look through these waveforms. Or maybe it was the previous one. Oh, now we're getting into the stuff in the later track. So, okay, maybe not. But the idea that what I wanted to do was to kind of emulate this idea of different filter sweeps at different rates. So this is on step, what used to be called automate. So every time this bass note gets triggered, it goes through one of these W commands and one of these F commands, and then you can see this is kind of mirrored, and it goes in the reverse direction. So the W command, let's remember what the W command does by putting it on this wave instrument and reading the help text, because even I sometimes forget which digits. So it's speed followed by length, and 0 means no change. So this one, we've got our speed of our wave synth is 4, and the length is 6. So we're fast forwarding. We're starting basically with the 9th frame. And then, as you can see, we're working our way backwards, and we're getting a little bit faster. But our length is, I guess what I was trying to emulate was that for each different note, every time the note plays, you're basically getting the effect of a bass note that has a different sort of cutoff and resonance value, even though we're only using one synth. Let's just play it here with the whole wave channel. It might even work better now, like if I were to go back and retune this, because like you can see I'm only using 4 and 3, but now that we can go down all the way to 2, like it might be interesting to see what happens if we did something like 4, 3, 2, 1 or whatever, and then like really increase the length on these, because if we don't do that, they're gonna sound much worse. I don't know. This could end up sounding horrible, so let's just see. Not that much different. Let's put these values back where they belong. And now I don't even remember if this was what was here. I think this was like a 5, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter very much. 4, 3. It doesn't matter, honestly, probably. Anyway, that was the effect that I was trying to go for on this one. And this note is just a little sneaky way of pretending like the kick actually sustains through these between these bass notes. So it's like, and the same thing here. It's just a little blip at the very lowest pitch in the key, you know, because we're only a half step up from C1. So it's like the waveform is like a pretty pure, kind of like a clipped triangle, and just to get some real low frequencies kind of hidden in there. So then we got another kick. So there's that. Let's take a look at the pulse channels. We've seen this before. Have we seen this one before? Yes. We've seen this before. So this is, I'm doing crazy E commands here to kind of basically fade in this melody. And I think I'm also doing something crazy with the tables on this. Yeah. On every step, we're playing a different table. So this is like these little kind of trills, or whatever you call them, little fluctuations in the lead. And I don't think I'm doing that here. Yeah, no, not yet. So this kind of... we go all the way up to this volume A, or 10. And then here we're playing the same pattern in both of the pulses, which you can hear what... Oops, not mute. Sorry. I'll mute this one and this one. Okay, so what's happening here? This is our lead instrument, and we can put on the table for the little trill here. And this is basically like having a fast like C command. So it's just transpose up on the first tick, transpose normal on the second tick, and alternate. And this fine tune command will change the fine tune to 5 on the first tick, 4 on the second tick, and the C in the first digit tunes the second pulse channel an octave up. So essentially, what I really tried to do here was kind of emulate like a really kind of primitive like super saw, because the super saw has like a bunch of detuned voices. So by flipping back and forth between this, and we have a higher fine tune here to kind of emulate like a more stretched out higher octave, and then the 4 here is like a less stretched out lower octave. And then when you put both of these together, you know, you kind of get this whole so in the middle of these notes, I just have these E commands to kind of emulate like a little echo. And then here, we're just taking wherever we had those E commands and putting in this little... I think these have little tables to alternate their panning. Oh, this is a fun panning trick, because when you put these on step or automate, and you play the same phrases in both pulse channels at the same time, pulse channel 1 will do this line. Pulse channel 2 will do this line. and the pulse channel will stay on like the even number, and the pulse channel 2 will stay on the odd number. So this is like a really fun trick, and then both of them will play this, or I think at least they should. Let's see what. This is just kind of the same, like change the fine tune and add this little accent. So that's pretty fun. So yeah, we have a little PU2 transpose here. I don't know if is that actually going to do anything because of this one? No, I guess not. But yeah, I don't think that this actually does anything. But at any rate, so we're just kind of squeezing extra stuff in there. I don't think our wave channel has changed. Let's look at the noise channel. Oh yeah, we're muted. Not that interesting yet. Kind of building up here. I think we build up in the last one. And then we really get into it here. So this one, obviously, it's the same thing basically. There might have been a different instrument, if I remember right. Yeah, there's like this little V command, V F4, to kind of give it like extra oomph, because now we're only playing the lead in one pulse channel, and this channel is doing these ARPs. We can't do pads here, so we just have to do these little ARPs. So we can take a listen to some of these. Got some panning in there. It's like your minor 4. Kind of have these alternated so they don't just go straight up in order. You kind of go, it kind of jumps around a little bit to kind of give your ear something, and we've got some waveform changes in here to kind of make them a little more dynamic. Let's see if the wave channel is doing anything different. Not really. About the same. Just open hi-hats mostly with a couple of close hi-hat accents. Let's see what happens here. I think this one just basically goes up an octave. Before it was down an octave, now it's up an octave. So, okay. That key change I added, I think it adds a lot more interest, and it wasn't in the original one, so that one I did sort of do differently than the original. So you might remember the original one has this kind of like ping pong delay, and I tried to emulate that with like a 3-channel delay. So that's pulse 1, there's pulse 2, and then here's the wave, which is set to basically a pulse waveform. So a little different, and we're also lowering the dynamic down to 5 instead of 7. M command controls like the master volume. So this is just to add some contrast, bring things down. So hear it in context. So now I'm just playing wave bass here. And then these are kind of doing I even like mostly named all of my instruments. That's pretty good. This has a little table on it, kind of telling every instrument to do some panning stuff, and then also to do these accents and control some of this stuff. This is kind of cool, though. I guess it's supposed to do a little bit of detuning, but I don't really hear it much. And then again, we're taking advantage of that trick because this is set to step mode. So the even numbered rows are going to be played by pulse 1, and then the odd numbered rows are going to be played by pulse 2. So we can kind of do this like automated panning thing. Okay, so this filter sweep, this is a fun trick. I learned this from Hypnogram. And it basically, all it does is kind of steps through a bunch of different synths. I think I must have created a different instrument for each synth, and then just used, I didn't use the same table. Oh yeah, this is just for these little accents. So what I did was made a series of synths and treated them all as if they were one big synth. So what that looks like is we've got this synth with cutoff from 0 to 10, from 10 to 20, from 20 to 40, from 40 to 60, from 60 to 80, from 80 to A0, which is like 100 or whatever, A to D, and then D to F. So this is really gives a really cool effect because it's essentially like you're filter sweeping in, and it's also really fun to look at when you scroll through the waveforms. And it seemed like this would be kind of a fitting thing to show now that I've done a little tutorial ramble on the wave synth. So here's what this sounds like. Yeah, that was really fun to do. And then it basically repeats. I mean, there's not much. It kind of just reiterates the same thing that you heard before because it was so good. Why change it? So I think that's probably all I have to talk about. You can check out the save file. And if you're interested, and feel free to ask me any questions. Maybe I didn't catch anything. I'll probably do another save file walkthrough a little bit and talk about some more stuff. This is an early song, so I think I'm pretty proud of it. I think I came up with some good tech, and I don't know. It pretty much rocks live. Like it's hard to not play this song. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.